And good morning. It's Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as on most of our major podcast platforms as well, such as Spotify or Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. We're there for you any time of the day or night. You can rehear our podcasts, because sometimes we're giving you data and things of information that you kind of hear real quickly. And well, what was I talking about? Well, maybe I could, let me see. What are those numbers again? I want to keep a record of it. You go back, listen to the podcast. You get all the information right back to you as well. So welcome to the show. It's Saturday morning. We have things to talk about today. I'm not going to talk about basketball. We've got a couple of baseball games on tap to kind of just give you a quick rundown on. I'm not going to go into much detail as to what they're about, but we're going to tell you who they are. These are two games that the pros are looking at, and that's the Cubs against the Dodgers and the Yankees, of course, against the Red Sox in the game today following yesterday's big game. So we'll be talking about that, give you an idea as to who the pros are betting on in those two games. And also we're going to review some of our betting as far as winning and losing streaks. Yesterday, we had a team that had a losing streak come to an end. So it kind of falls into that category of being a swagger situation. So we'll talk about that as well. We got some, maybe if we have time, we'll talk some college football, talking about how these new rosters that are coming in, how they're coming into play, what teams will be affected by it, things like that. You need to start looking at as far as college football and NFL football is concerned, because like I always say, before you know it, the games are going to be starting. The teams will be back. They'll be back into their situations as far as the camps are concerned. And then before you know it, you got the preseason, and then you've got the season started. So you got to start thinking about things like that. The NBA is winding down. They're going to be coming into their finals pretty soon. Once that's taken care of, National Hockey League, they're into their Stanley Cup finals this week as well. So once those things are out of the way, if you've been betting them, it's time to start thinking about college football, college basketball, and NFL football. Those are the things that'll be coming up on the horizon, unless you spend some time betting on some baseball. That's totally up to you as usual. So anyway, once again, I want to thank you for listening. We are coming to you live right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're here every Saturday and Sunday. We're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So if you've listened to the show before, the first thing we take a look at is what happened yesterday statistically as far as betting is concerned in the major sports on tap. To start off with, in the National Hockey League, the Lightning, a minus 180 home favorite, beat the Islanders 1-0 in Game 7 to win their semifinal series 4-3. And of course, as far as that was concerned, the puck line stayed under 5, so that was a wonder in that situation. And the Dogs, they still lead 7-6 in this particular round, but the favorites lead overall in the playoffs, but not by much, only by 40-36. The home teams lead 8-5 in this round, and overall, the home teams lead 42-37. The unders are 5-2-6 in this round. Overall, for the entire playoff series, they're at 39-33. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the National Hockey League is like. And of course, like I said, the finals for the Stanley Cup will be starting out now. So in the NBA, the Bucks, 8.5-point favorites. They beat the Hawks 125-91. That evened up their Eastern Conference final tournament. They're 1-1, and they stayed under the 225.5 as far as that's concerned. Now, in this round, the Bucks covered. Okay, the Clippers 2-0 against the spread in a roll in this round. If you're looking at zigzag, but still, if you're betting zigzag, you're somewhere around 43% against the spread, which is kind of a losing situation if you look at it from that perspective. The favorites took a 3-2 straight up lead this round, but the dogs, they still lead 3-2 against the spread in this round. The favorites lead 46-26, but they're 41-30 against the spread, which is very close to 58% overall for the entire playoffs season. Now, the home teams lead 4-1 straight up, but only 3-2 against the spread in this round. The home teams lead overall 41-31 straight up, but they're only 38-33 against the spread, which puts them somewhere around 53.5% overall. The unders lead 3-2 in this round, and they lead overall, but they lead by 2 games, 36-34. So now the NBA is starting to wind down. NHL is winding down. Major League Baseball is on strong. You got the midseason coming up real soon. You're going to have the All-Star game coming. That's like the midpoint. So baseball will be dominant in the next couple of weeks from now. So the favorites yesterday, they went 8-7, had big upsets. The Orioles, who were in our betting streak situation, finally won their game. They busted out of their losing streak, and they were a plus 225 on the money line, won 6-5 against the Blue Jays. Of course, it took them 10 innings to do it because they were losing 5-1. Somewhere within the game, came back, went into extra innings, finally busted loose from that 6-game losing streak, and they won yesterday. The Mariners were a plus 180 against the White Sox, and the favorites, they still lead 632-459, which is almost at 58%. Now, the over-unders went 7-7-1 with a push on the Pittsburgh-St. Louis, which was at 9. And again, it was a push in Las Vegas. Maybe it wasn't a push where you do your business. Now, the overs lead 551-536. That brings you somewhere close to 51%. So that's a rundown on things that have happened as far as statistical data is concerned for yesterday's games in betting in the 3 major sports: baseball, basketball, and hockey. So that kind of brings you up to date on that. And of course, like I said, we're going to take our first break now. And if you're new to the show, you know that we do take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of about a 1-minute duration. So just as a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone. And of course, we will be back into the zone talking some baseball in 1 minute. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Here we are. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on Google Podcast as well. So you can get a hold of us just about anywhere, any time of the day. But we do go live at this time of the day. So let's take a look at what's going on as far as baseball is concerned for today. To bring you up to date as of yesterday, this little system, method, whatever you want to call it, where we actually just take a look at and follow how the pros are doing, and we kind of follow them, and whatever selections they make, we tell you about as a betting possibility. So yesterday, we had 3 games yesterday. We had Baltimore against Toronto, and of course, in that game, we had Toronto. And as I just got finished telling you, Baltimore ended their 6-game losing streak. They finally won a game. Also, Seattle against the Chicago White Sox, big upset. Seattle came back and won. We had the White Sox in that game, so that's a loser as well. We did have one winner, though, the Rockies against the Brewers. We had the Brewers in that game. So we had 3 plays yesterday, 1 winner and 2 losers. The day before that, we had 3 plays, 2 losers and 1 winner. The day before that, we had 2 losers. The day before that, we had 2 winners. The day before that, 2 winners and a loser. Just to kind of give you an idea. Just don't take 1 day or 2 days into consideration. You have to look at the entire picture as to how it's going. So far, we're, in spite of those losses that we did have occurred in the past few days, we're still over 54% as far as a win percentage is concerned. And that's in the positive side, no matter how you look at it, because you're going to have a lot of dogs involved in there that have come in and won. So you'll be definitely ahead if you stayed with that particular system. Not saying that you have to. We leave it up to you. So this way you'll know what's going on. So for today, we have 2 games on tap. And because of time constrictions, we don't have much time. We got so much to talk about today, even college football. So what we're going to do is just tell you what the teams are and let kind of give you an idea as to why they're being chosen. And, of course, here's the story on those. Meanwhile, the Cubs and the Dodgers, that's the game that we're taking a look at. It's going to be played in LA. Julio Urias is pitching for the Dodgers, and with the market consensus really high up there, it's somewhere about minus 190. It might go up as high as minus 200 on the money line. So if you do like this game, or you're thinking about betting this game and you like the Dodgers, you're going to have to lay a little bit of wood if you're going to like to bet them. So we believe there's good value, though, in betting on the Dodgers to beat the Cubs, even though that is a pretty high number. Also, the Yankees against the Red Sox. In this particular game, we're going on to the underdog and the Yankees. The other matchup, that's the other matchup that we're looking at. You got the Yankees and the Red Sox. Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi are the 2 pitchers that are scheduled to start to play. And the Yankees in this situation are the underdog. They're at a plus 100 on the money line. We'll see how it goes. It could flip either way. Keep an eye on that one if you're interested in betting this game. But generally speaking, anytime you're looking at the Yankees when they're playing, even if they're playing the Red Sox and it seems like they may be having a kind of mediocre season, which they're kind of having this year, anytime you can get some points, anytime you can get some on the plus side on the money line, not a bad idea to play the Yankees in those situations. So I just want to bring that to your attention as well. So that's the story. Those are the 2 games that we're looking at as far as baseball is concerned, and as far as our little system, method, whatever you want to call it, for selecting games. And like I said, over the season so far, since the beginning of season on April 1st, we're in the 54% bracket area as far as win percentage is concerned. Now, still talking about baseball, however, we got to talking about the winning and losing streaks. We've kind of taken a look at that. We've kind of incorporated that into the show. I know sometimes on the weekend we have listeners that aren't weekday listeners. However, they do listen on the weekend, and we have contrary. We have people that listen on the weekend, on the weekday, that don't listen on the weekend. So I know we talked about this before. I don't remember if we talked about this last weekend or not, but just to give you an idea that we are now paying attention to winning and losing streaks, kind of give you an idea as to another outlet of betting if you're interested in looking in that direction, okay? You may be looking at a game and you say, I don't like either team. I'm not sure what I want to do, but I do want some action. So let me see if any of them are having a winning streak or a losing streak, because there's some general rules of thumb, but the most important one to remember is that you have to decide what you consider to be a losing or a winning streak. Here at the show, we kind of feel 6 is that number. Once a team either wins or loses 6 games, we call it a streak from that point on. Now, you could be a little bit more conservative and say, well, I'm going to wait till 8, or you can wait till 10 even, or even whatever you want, 12, 13, whatever number you want to put up there. But whatever number that is, you want it to be consistent. You can't change from week to week, okay, going from 8 to 6, 6 to 10, or whatever, because it just doesn't work that way. Mathematically, you're going to get destroyed in the end because you're going to wind up going on in the wrong direction most of the time. So pick a number, follow it for a while, see how it works. And if that number doesn't work for you, then you can make a little bit of a change. Maybe you're on 8, you want to maybe move it up to 9, or maybe you want to move it down to 7. So this way you'll get more action. Obviously, the lower the number you use, the more action you're going to receive as far as plays go. So with that in mind, there's also what we call the swagger theory. The swagger theory is very simple. All it says is that when a team finally ends their winning or losing streak, regardless of what, more than likely, and the records prove it, that they come back and they win the next game right afterwards, or they lose their next game right afterwards, depending on whether they're coming out of a losing streak or a winning streak. So we had one game that came into consideration yesterday under that category. We had Baltimore against Toronto. Baltimore had a 6-game losing streak going into the game. So if you wanted Baltimore, you thought they were going to bust out of that losing streak, you would have taken Baltimore. Otherwise, you would have taken Toronto, or you just would not taken anything at all. So Baltimore did win that game. 10 innings. They were behind most of the game, finally came back, won it in 10 innings. So now that makes them a good candidate for the swagger theory because they did win. Their losing streak has come to an end. So what we're saying that in a swagger theory, once they come out of that losing streak, they will follow up with another win. Generally speaking, most of the time, that's the way the records seem to show it. So if you're interested in betting on the winning and losing streaks, here's one to take a look at. Baltimore against Toronto. And of course, that swag theory comes into play with Baltimore on this particular game. Now, yesterday also we had Houston against Detroit. Houston is on an 11-game winning streak. However, that game was postponed, so they're still going to be playing today, hopefully. Houston and Detroit. Houston, like I said, they're still on an 11-game winning streak. Now, keep in mind that they have a doubleheader today. So if you kind of watch this one, and if they do win the 12th game, then again, depends how you feel about them, whether you want to stay with them or bet against them. But if they happen to lose that first game, then they come under the swagger theory for the second game, okay, so that they could more than likely lose the second game as well. But again, it's up to you to decide. Houston, Detroit, 11-game winning streak for Houston. And of course, finally, you have one other game, and that's Arizona against San Diego. San Diego won yesterday. They had a 7-game winning streak going into yesterday. So they are now at an 8-game winning streak against Arizona. So again, these are the teams that are in the streak situation. You have one that is actually in the swagger situation and another one that may become a swagger situation after they play the first game of their doubleheader. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. Again, the two teams we're talking about betting as far as following the pros. Cubs against the Dodgers. They're on the Dodgers. Yankees against the Red Sox. The pros are on the Red Sox in that game. So let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some baseball teams. And because, some teams actually do better against other teams than others. So we're going to take a look at some of those teams, show you what teams are dominant against what's some other teams. We'll kind of take it from there. So let's take a break. And like usual, we'll be back right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Also on Mile High Radio out in the Denver, Colorado area. Of course, we're on Blackjack TV on the East Coast. And of course, like we said, on most of the major podcast platforms, just like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, we are on most of those as well. So now, once again, just in case you tuned in a little late, the two games that we have are selected by the pros for today's baseball situation. You got the Cubs against the Dodgers. They're on the Dodgers. Yankees against the Red Sox. They like the Yankees as an underdog in that particular game. So now, we're almost halfway through the season as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. Now we're starting to see the strengths and the weaknesses of the various teams. They're starting to appear to us. We're kind of getting a closer look at them, getting a better understanding. So as a bettor, you have to look for other things as well. You have to look some we call handicapping nuggets that might be off the radar kind of, and yet you kind of notice it and try to take advantage of it. To do this, sometimes you have to go beyond the here and the now. You have to kind of look a little further back, beyond the current season, last season. You want to look for the trends that have been going on, and the trends that continue to produce some value. Now, one of the best things we can do is you can look back at the recent head-to-head history between various teams. Because, when you do this, you all of a sudden see, becomes clear that certain teams just match up better with certain opponents than they do with others. They do much better. And also, some teams just play better or worse at different ballparks. There are certain ballparks where they just don't do well at. For whatever reason, maybe the configurations, the type of team that they have, the team they have may not be fitting for that type of a stadium, for instance. Okay, if you're looking at a ballpark with a fence that's further back than some other ballparks, or the ballpark you're playing in, and you don't have a strong home run hitting team, obviously you're not going to do as well in a situation like that. So in a lot of cases, you're going to see that when you start analyzing these records, these trends, you just can't ignore them. They're there, okay? And if anything, you should really take a look at them real close and see any changes going on. So here are a few that we kind of took a look at, came up with, and here's some head-to-head series trends. Look at it this way. The Dodgers have won 13 straight games against the Pirates. 13 straight games against the Pirates. They don't play again until August 16th or the 18th, and this is arguably a series that we have one of the best teams in the National League playing against one of the worst teams in many years. So it's really no surprise the Dodgers have done pretty good against Pittsburgh by winning 13 straight games, okay? They were underdogs only once. So just to show you how astute the odds makers are when they put out the over-unders and the dogs and the underdogs. So you take a look at that and you see that just once during this streak of 13 games that they were an underdog. They were a favorite those other 12 times. They clobbered the pitching staff for the Pirates for 7.5 runs a game. Now, understand something. Los Angeles is going to be a heavy favorite in all of these games coming up. But of course, it is a month or so away. There may be some changes for either team coming into this series, but at least we do know that the Dodgers have been dominant over Pittsburgh. Now, looking at the games that are going to be coming up, and they're started now, you have the Cardinals. They're on a 9-game winning streak against the Pirates. That's another trend going against Pittsburgh here. Although this one is kind of short-lived, only goes back to September 18th of last year. The Cardinals snapped their 4-game losing streak to Pittsburgh that day, and since then, they've been on a big trend. Cardinals over the Pirates. Also, the Giants, they've won 9 in a row against the Diamondbacks. Of course, I say, who hasn't? The next time they play against each other, from July 1st to July 4th, in Arizona. This is another 9-game winning streak in the National League West. Nearly every team so far, if you've been following it, has been beating up on Arizona this season, and San Francisco is no exception. They have a 6-0 record so far this season against Arizona. The current division leaders have put up an amazing 50 runs in 6 games. 50 runs in 6 games. And the rivalry has really just begun. 13 more games are still set to be played this season. The next group coming up, July 1st and 4th against Arizona. And one of the situation, the A's coming in to play Oakland, July 16th to the 18th. They're on a 12-3 surge against the Indians. A's against the Indians. So in terms of overall success recently, the A's and the Indians are relatively even. So it's unusual that the head-to-head play would be so one-sided. Both teams doing very, very well, yet it's Oakland that's dominating Cleveland lately, going 12-3 in their past 15 games, despite being favored only 4 times. So you had some astute bettors watching that during that run where they were 12-3 in the past 15 games. Only 4 times in that time span were they favorites. Other times they were the dogs. They have yet to meet in 2021, so we'll see how the current teams match up. But the trend really goes back as far as 2017. So I don't really expect the tide to really change that much this season. And finally, one more look at the A's against the Tigers as well. And that game isn't on until August 31st into September 2nd. You got the A's against the Tigers. In terms of wins and losses, this series is the most lopsided in recent baseball history. Oakland having 0 trouble with Detroit, okay? There are 22-1 in their last 23 games. The A's over Detroit, coming back again the end of August into September. And then finally, coming up next week, July 6th to the 8th, the Yankees against Seattle. The Yankees are in an 18-4 situation against Seattle. The Yankees are on a lengthy and highly profitable run against the Mariners. They've been almost equally proficient at home. 8-2 is on the road. They were 10-2. So this appears to just be a solid matchup for the Yankees. They have outscored the Mariners 5 runs to 2.5 runs on average. So pitching has really been dominant in this game. But interestingly, of the 22 games, the Yankees are 12-1 in this series when they play as favorites of 140 or more on the money line, and 6-1 in games with lines of where they're the dogs at plus 100. So both have proven to be near automatic line range scenarios as far as the Yankees and Seattle are concerned. That series starts again in Seattle, July 6th in Seattle with the Yankees. So just to take a look at it, just something else to look at. We're always talking about another factor to take into consideration when you're doing your handicapping. So as you look at one of the games, let's just say looking at the Yankees in Seattle, when that game comes up, you're looking at the games that day and you're kind of leaning, I like the Yankees. I'm not sure though. And again, a lot's going to depend on how they do against Boston coming up in this series. They've already lost the first game, although they are the selection by the pros in this game. So you can kind of take a look at it and say, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of a toss-up here. I like the Mariners, but I really like the Yankees also. I don't know which way to go. Well, if you understand that the Yankees have dominated this team over the past year and a half, that may tilt you in the direction that you want to go, which would be with the Yankees in that series, at least for the first game anyway, okay? So these are the types of information tidbits that we give you that could be of some help to you if you're going to do some handicapping on your own. So that's the story as far as some of those trends are concerned. We're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we're going to update you once again on what's coming up as far as baseball is concerned for today. In case you tuned in late, we'll go over that, and we'll be back into the zone as usual in 1 minute. And welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the Sports Wagering Zone, coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Thank you very much for listening. Here we go. Let's kind of recap what we talked about today as far as the games on tap for tonight. We have two games to look at as far as the pros are concerned, the two games that they like. The Cubs against the Dodgers. In that game, they like the Dodgers. And the New York Yankees against the Red Sox, even though they lost last night, the pros are on the Yankees, and they may be an underdog in this game. So we always say, anytime you can get some points with a team like the Yankees or the Red Sox, let's just say, it may not be a bad idea to take a close look at it. Now, as far as the winning and losing streaks are concerned, you do have some plays today if you're interested. Houston is on an 11-game winning streak. They're playing a doubleheader. The first one will be on soon, not long from now. Houston against Detroit. If they win that game, that'll be a 12-game winning streak going into their second game against Detroit. Now, if by some reason they lose that first game, they now fall into the swagger theory situation and might be looking at, if you're interested in this type of betting and these type of situations, you might want to take a look at betting on Houston, because now they come in to the swagger theory where they had a winning streak, they lost. So now you might want to bet on Detroit to come back and beat them once again in the second game. That's if they lose the first game. If they win that game, they're going to be 12-0 going into that second game. That's just a winning streak. Depends how you feel at 12 being the winning streak number for you as far as when you're going to start betting, if at all. And also we have one other game between Baltimore and the Blue Jays. Baltimore had a 6-game losing streak going into yesterday. They won, so they come under the swagger theory. So if you're interested, you bet on Baltimore because of swagger. If you come out of a losing streak, generally speaking, the team usually comes back and wins the second game as well. Then one other game on tap, you have Arizona against San Diego. San Diego is on an 8-game winning streak, so you might want to take a look at that. If your number is 8, you may say, oh, that's it. I think they've had enough. I'm going to bet against them in that game. That's the reason why we give you that information, so that you can make the decision as to which way you want to bet, if you want to bet at all. Just another alternative platform to look at as far as baseball or any sport is concerned. Of course, it's not that critical with the NFL because they only play, well, they're going to play 17 games this year, but that's not enough of a number to start looking at, because after they lose 2 games, you're going to put them into that category. But when it comes to college basketball, that's another thing you could take a look at as well. College basketball, NBA basketball, even hockey, you could take a look at it there as well. Any sport that has a lot of games involved. Baseball is perfect for it because they play 160 games a year. So that's the story there. So it's up to you. We leave that up to you. We just bring it to your attention. You do as you wish. In the meantime, like I said, the two games that the pros are picking, you got the Dodgers over the Cubs and the Yankees over the Red Sox. So thank you very much for listening. It's Saturday. I hope you have a nice weekend planned. If you're going to be betting this weekend, I certainly hope you do well because, hey, we're here to help you to do better. We're trying to improve your handicapping skills so that you can come out with some sort of a profit by the end of the season. Not to make a millionaire out of you or anything like that. Just kind of have a few bucks left over when all is said and done. So once again, thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Monday through Friday, we're here at 12 noon. We're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network and on most of your major platforms for podcasting as well. So until tomorrow on Sunday, have a very great Saturday. Have a wonderful Saturday. And if you're winning and you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Saturday as well. So until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, and we will once again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Till then, have a great and profitable day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.